Harmonize with me and hold me tight all through the night. You're shining bright, I'm your oyster, baby, you're my pearl.
Hi, Bills.
Hello, Dominic.
Here we are again. The temperatures are absolutely tip-top in this studio. It's fresh, like a kind of spring day in England.
Well, lovely.
Yeah.
Out in maybe the moors with a little morning dew.
Listening to Kate Bush.
Do you ever wash your face in the morning dew?
What?
Very, very good for you.
So, what, you mean grab stuff off the grass?
Just, yes, very gently. Rub it on your face there.
Oh, that's beautiful. And have you seen a lot of invertebrates, insects and stuff like that, will come out in the very early morning and they'll stick the cute little bottoms up in the air to catch the dew, and then the dew falls down towards their mouth, and that's how they get a little drink in the morning.
From their butt to their mouth.
Yeah, they drink from their anus.
Fantastic stuff.
Maybe something that we could incorporate into an episode at some point.
Perhaps.
How's the knee?
Knee, not great, if I'm honest, Dom. It's tight.
We've been getting a lot of very kind advice and guidance from people. Have you been taking them up on some of these offers?
There was one that was very specific. I saw that someone sent us on the email. Thank you very much. Please keep sending the emails to
Cast Media at... No! Friendship Onion at castmedia.com. It's cast with a K.
Let's not forget it's cast with a K. Now, someone sent us a thing and the person was a trained physiotherapist, knows what they're talking about, and did start with, I haven't seen your knee, so take this as like a very general, thing.
Take it on the chin.
Take it on the knee,
Yeah.
as it were. So, but she sent like diagrams and pictures, and most of the stuff is what I'm being told to, do by my man. But it was good to hear that confirmed by someone else.
Great.
And I suppose the thing is, you're only going to get as much better as much work you put into it. And maybe I'm just not doing enough.
Well, that's the thing about things like stretching, right? It's preventative. Meditation, I think, is in some way like this. I don't necessarily feel the benefits of meditation until I stop doing it. And it's the same with stretching. Because when I start in the gym, I'll probably do less than 5 minutes of stretching. But it's a little, toe touch, shoulder thing, tricep thing. If I don't do that for 2 or 3 weeks, then maybe I'll feel it. When you and I went away to West Virginia, South Carolina,
North
Carolina, you would get up probably half an hour, 40 minutes before me. And invariably, when I used to come out of my room, walk past your room to head downstairs, you'd be in the practice of a little morning stretchy. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Have you dropped that now?
No, I still do that, Dom. Maybe not as much as I did, sort of every day, but much better. And you're a fan of animals.
Love animals.
My animal, my dog, loves a little stretch in the morning.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing. And otherwise you stiffen up, don't you?
Well, it's very rare, if not, doesn't happen at all, that a dog or a cat gets up from a seating position and doesn't do a downward dog, upward dog, stretchy. I like it when cats just put one paw out as if they're trying to reach to a new galaxy. That's a good one.
Yeah, so it's good. A good stretch helps, and I think that's what I need to do, and also build up the power of my butt.
Yeah, you need to get a bigger arse, but we've always said that. And also, the other thing to keep in mind, which I'm sure you're philosophical about as well, is we're almost dead.
Exactly. You know what I mean? We're standing on a rock, flying through space at 1,000 miles an hour, only just staying out of the fireball that we call the sun. My knee is a very, very small problem. But I'm still working on it.
Good for you. Should we do
you.
a little League of Legends update? League of Legends update. We've still not got the graphic.
Has Riot sent us the music and
no,
graphic?
We've got nothing. We've got no graphics.
Okay.
We've got nothing. But I can see it, and I'm sure you guys can see it now. It's like...
I'll do the echo. You do it.
Okay. League
of
Legends.
Legends.
Oh, nice, Bills. Nice. I feel like it's like, like a very heavy piece of maybe metal hits a screen.
Clong, clang, ching, boom.
Like that.
Yeah.
So, where are we at with that? Because not only have Sean and Elijah backed into a very deep shadow, but you and I have not played League of Legends together for what? 2 weeks?
A couple of weeks, I think. I don't think I've played. I played. The new Dr. Mundo came out. And I like Dr. Mundo. And but he's gone to the top. As I think we talked about this. He's went to the top lane. I'm not a fan of the top lane.
No.
Because I get killed all the time.
Yeah.
I like to stay far away and fire things at people.
Yeah.
I don't like it in amongst the fray.
Yeah.
And if I'm not far away flinging things at people, I like to be in the jungle.
Yeah.
Out the way of people.
I like the jungle too. I've been playing the jungle as well. Do you have a favourite jungle creature?
I tell you, the little rock things are hard to kill.
Yeah.
They keep...
Krugs, right?
Krugs.
That's what they call them. Krugs.
You are such a geek.
Oh, complete geek. I now am starting to watch the little non-playable creatures in the jungle. A snail, a frog. What else is there? Is there a mouse in the jungle? But my friend from Riot, Jake, hello Jake, if you're listening, who gave us some skins. Thank you for that. Very sweet. I said, is there any things that maybe are deep dives into League of Legends that we might not know? He said there are certain frogs that if you stand close next to them, they'll commit suicide. So they kind of get a fright and just fall over.
I wonder, sometimes I play Kaisa.
Yeah.
Why does Kaisa release a frog occasionally?
You're going to have to ask Jake or ask if anyone out there plays Kaisa, let us know.
I'm terrible at Kaisa. I'm just terrible at the game. But
I like you as Kaisa. You do like crazy damage
But
as
I've played
Kaisa.
against Kaisa before, and she will destroy people.
Yeah.
I can never get that powerful.
Well, we'll get there.
You've made me excited to play. I want to play this afternoon.
It's like surfing. It's just like time in the water. We'll play.
Right, let's play. Now, where are we with Elijah? Joining us on the Rift, where are we?
On a scale of fruit.
fruit.
Strawberry seeds being the smallest and a watermelon being the top. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to say, for me, a lemon seed because we've not
A
heard,
lemon seed?
Yeah, we've not heard. We've not heard from Elijah or Sean in regards to League of Legends. We've chatted to them about other stuff, but they've both completely backed off.
Elijah sent us a thing about a vegan restaurant, Ethiopian
food.
but in no way did he mention the League of Legends.
I mean, sooner or later, we're trying as hard as we can to shame the two of them to play, and that's not worked. Any suggestions as to how we get them to play, let us know.
Although a friend of mine who I was on stage with in London, Ed.
Do I know Ed?
Ed, I don't know if you've met Ed.
What was
Hello,
he in?
Ed.
What play?
He was in the Scottish play. You may have met him.
You are marvellous.
Now, anyway, Ed...
Have you seen his banquo?
Ed has moved to Canada, and he said, listening to the Friendship Onion, he said, I'm going to download that League of Legends, and I'm going to have a go.
Let's do it.
He done it. He wrote to me. He said he died 100 times, but they won, and he loves it.
Let's do it.
But then I got to send him tips.
Brilliant.
Me?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, stay under the tower.
Oh, just not their tower.
No. The first 10 minutes, just get minions.
Yeah.
So he did all this.
Brilliant, Bills.
I felt like a teacher.
That's powerful. Our friend Will, who Nigel and I went down to see in Oceanside, also downloaded the game, had a lot of questions, but we didn't want to get into it with all of the other beautiful people at the party. We didn't want to kind of cramp the style. Yeah. So we said, let's talk about it later. But he's in as well. So we'll figure it out. We don't need Frodo and Sam.
No. Do we? We do, actually.
We might do.
I would love them to play.
But
yeah,
we do have a guest today.
A very, very special guest, my friend Dominic.
I'll do a little impression, which only you will know whether it's accurate or not.
Or maybe his wife would
I was going to say, I
it.
don't do an impression of his wife.
Our guest today kind of talks like this. He's a very well-spoken New Zealander,
Born in the UK, though.
born in the UK, and also we were saying before the show, very excited about most things.
Lovely.
A very passionate, wonderful artist we have today.
Yeah.
We have Mr. Richard Taylor of Weta Workshops.
Richard Taylor, who alongside his wife are the founding, inspiring members of Weta, which is arguably the best special effects company in the world. Certainly one of the busiest, certainly one of the biggest, and has done such films as William.
The Lord of the Rings trilogy.
3.
The Hobbit trilogy.
6.
Master and Commander.
1. Should have been more. You were marvellous.
Narnia.
Narnia. 3.
It's got Avatar.
7.
With about 12 to come.
Yeah.
They're amazing. Taylor and his company created all the props, costumes, prosthetics, miniatures, and weaponry for Jackson's epic, The Lord of the Rings.
And that particular workshop where they do physical effects, which are obviously the things that you can, see and touch and grab hold of, like hobbit ears and hobbit feet and armor and things like that, alongside digital effects that you can't grab hold of but you can still see, like armies and things like that, and miniatures. That whole workshop situation is such an inspiring place to not only work, but for us as a cast, just to go and visit. Like this, you turn any corner, and the greatest artist that you've ever seen is sculpting a little cabbage that maybe you're holding in a figurine.
Or you walk into a room that's like the size of a football field, and there's Minas Tirith, like completely Minas Tirith in miniature form. Carved, every window carved, so they can get a camera that flies in. It's art. The art in Weta is incredible, and I'm very excited to speak to Richard. It's been a little while, and he's such a wonderful, passionate, just talented guy.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
So attached to that joyful, inspiring, I'm a creator kind of vibe, right?
Shall we get him on the TV now?
Shall we get him on?
Shall we do it, John?
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
thank you.
Richard.
How's it going,
Good
man?
to see you.
Good to see
Good,
you too,
good.
Richard.
Yeah, lovely to catch up. Thank you for inviting me on, and it's lovely to talk to everyone that listens in, and really nice to see you both. It's been a very long time.
Yeah.
Too long. And you haven't changed at all, Richard.
Well, fatter and older, I think would be fair to say.
That's us. That's us too, Richard.
No less enthusiastic, and certainly still loving getting to work in the morning. So that's a good thing.
Well, that's fantastic, and we definitely want to talk about Weta. Obviously, what time is it in New Zealand right now?
About 6 o'clock, I think. No, 7:13 it is right now.
You've probably been working for about 3 hours already, Richard.
Yeah.
Knowing
No,
you.
I actually... Tanya actually came and jabbed me in the ribs and said, "You got to get out of bed quick. You're going to be late." So luckily, I only live 10 minutes from work, so
Good.
I almost got here on the spot. So
That's good.
Now, how busy is Weta right now? With Weta being one of the most successful, busiest studios around, how's the work detail currently?
It's been wonderfully busy here at the Weta Workshop. We've been crazy actually because New Zealand has stayed mostly clear of COVID. A lot of filmmakers have come down to New Zealand, so that's meant that the country has stayed pretty busy. But we likewise, even with outside contracts, have stayed pretty good. We've also been making our own work. We right through last year, we built a large location-based experience in Auckland called Weta Workshop Unleashed, and that sort of filled in any gaps that we may have had and kept our team well employed and super busy.
So does that mean when people come to New Zealand now, maybe to visit the locations, that's something else that they can go and see in Auckland now?
Yeah, exactly. It was all a great idea pre-COVID, of course. We actually started at the beginning of the year, but sadly when COVID hit, we'd already borrowed the money and begun the process, and we had a very hard decision to go one way or the other, but we decided to carry on. Tanya and I thought about it very, very hard and decided if we bailed on something like this, then we're really not putting our confidence into New Zealand sort of bursting back into the tourist scene. And we felt it was important we played our part. So we carried on, and in early December, we opened the doors. It's called Weta Workshop Unleashed, a fantastical film effects experience. So it's a sort of an hour-long walkthrough of this a tour guide-led walkthrough of this crazy, fictitious and fantastical workshop filled with spaceships and robots and monsters and dinosaurs and creatures. And so people have enjoyed it. It's great because New Zealand, the Auckland visitors have embraced it, and we've had a lot of people through and a lot of lovely comments. And it's at its heart, it's my desire to try and inspire the love of creating with your hands. You get to make sculpture, and you get to draw, and you get to do things physically with your hands that otherwise you may have lost the love of, or try and inspire it in kiddies, trying to get kiddies off these things a little bit more. So so that's what it's about, and it's it was a joyous project for myself and my colleagues to build, because it felt like we were giving something very special back to the people of New Zealand that love the creative process. So we're very proud of it and very much enjoy running it here in New Zealand.
That's very cool, Richard. So with that in mind, let's back up a little bit and maybe kind of ask you about the Richard Taylor between the ages of, let's say, 8 to 11, the young Richard Taylor, who is clearly not anywhere near devices, since they didn't exist at that point, but immersed in model making and creatures and all that kind of stuff. What were the things that inspired you to go on this path to now be at the forefront of all this currently?
Well, interestingly, because I was growing up in rural New Zealand in the 1970s, which is how old I would have been back, the years it would have been at that age, obviously there was no access to the sort of media that we have access to today. There were no magazines on what we do for a career that I was aware of. We did go into town. The first movie I ever saw was Tora, Tora, Tora when I was 6 years old. And then at 8 years old, I think, I saw the Aristocats, which had a big impact on me. And we were going into town once a year to go to the movies, which was a decent drive away up into central Auckland. But at that age, I was into paper mache model making. I was really passionate about just doing model making in my bedroom. My dad and I had built a HO gauge railway, so doing the landscaping on that. It was tiny. It was no bigger than the piece of table I'm sitting at, but I got really into that. And I discovered that there was a creek on the back of the farm. This is a very well-worn story, and I apologize to your listeners, but I only have one life, and this is it. And I started digging clay out of the wall of the creek, and that's where I discovered my love of sculpting. I found some pictures a little while ago of me in the lounge of this share milker's cottage that we lived in, where we were renting off a local farmer, and those sculptures are in the background in that photograph. It's quite bizarre. And one of the first pieces of literature that sort of inspired my imagination was Rupert the Bear. I don't know if you guys are of an age that you would remember Rupert the Bear. But if you remember, Rupert would go through portals into other worlds, and characters would come through into his world. And those stories were just so wonderfully inspiring to me. I still have Rupert memorabilia hanging on the wall of our house today. But nice. It was actually, my mum was training at a teacher's training college, and the library at the training college was having a closing down sale. And I bought two things at that closing down sale. This was when I was about 12 years old. for $2, I bought a dog-eared copy of the triptych of the Garden of Earthly Delights by Hieronymus Bosch. And you will undoubtedly know the painting, if not by name, if you were to see it. It's got heaven, earth, and hell, and it's got the descent of man into hell, and or it's suggestive of what if we were to sin, what would become of us. And there are iconic images today within it that you see on merchandising, etc. But for me, I hung that above my bed, and I would look at that painting every day. And that painting, this was done hundreds of years ago, but when you look at the ideas within the painting, there's some incredibly contemporary ideas, as terrifying as almost any horror movie made today. And that started the cogs of my brain working around the fantastical running in parallel to our ordinary lives. And I started to realize that if I could imagine, I could visualize a life in parallel that you could dip in and out of through your imagination. And that very significantly catalyzed my brain starting to think about a future of doing this. Only a year later, I met Tanya when I was 13, and we, even at that early age, started to talk about maybe doing a future making things. We didn't even know the film industry existed in New Zealand. I still thought that people were filming local TV shows in people's houses. I never even comprehended sets. But our vision could really only scale to theatre. Tanya was in repertory theatre. I was doing the theatre design for our school plays at the school I was going to. I was actually acting the only female parts in the school plays because I had long legs, and I was at a boys' school, so I used to sport a pair of fishnets and high heels every year for the school play. Oh yeah. So that sort of, and then of course in that very early age I discovered The Hobbit. I first read The Hobbit, and that was my lens into Tolkien, was through The Hobbit. I'm very glad it was, because my reading age was very poor, and at that young age I was reading Judge Dredd comics, ABC Warrior, etc. The Strontium Dogs. Those were the foundation of my reading pleasure, embarrassingly, but I improved enough to read The Hobbit, and that was it, of course. And here we are talking to, funnily enough, two wonderful gentlemen.
Was there something in those formative years, Richard, that you actually made that you thought, oh, I actually am quite good at this when you got the finished article?
Yeah, no, I never thought, gee, I might be quite good at this, but I did think, gee, I really not only enjoy this, if I don't do this, I am miserable. And it dawned on me very early, and I kept that to myself. My mother was a science teacher. My father was is an engineer. So they're a very pragmatic pair. We started building a house when I was, I think, about 11 years old. My mum, my dad, and I almost entirely handmade together. It took us 5 years. That was a very foundational training in what I did and in what I do today, But I realized while building that house, and I did not always enjoy it, of course, because my friends were off going into town and going to concerts and things like that, and I was stuck in the weekends building this bloody house with my parents. But I did identify back then that I just really loved building things and making things, and more than that, I had a almost unquenchable, insatiable desire to do it. And if I wasn't doing it, I felt wrong in myself. So my parents wanted me to become an orthodontist because they could see that I had a high level of skills to make tiny things. I was making tiny toy soldiers and airbrushing things and so on. And so they that's where they thought I could. And it wasn't that they were being negative towards me and my love of art. They just couldn't visualize any future in the arts at that point. So they were trying to be highly supportive of something I could do.
Yeah.
But I just knew in my heart that I had to do a career that was making things. And the only person I would tell was Tanya, my future wife, that
Yeah.
this is what I wanted to do. And thankfully, she was supportive, and here we are today.
I think that's a normal story to hear, isn't it, from a lot of people who are involved in the arts. Is I think parents have a fear about their kids going into art because they feel like there's always going to be disappointment, and obviously you don't want your children to be disappointed, so they try to support but steer you in a way that this will be a more secure way of making a living and living through your life. So I think that's a normal thing for parents to do. So did you take that love of art into college? Is that where you went next? After you removed the fishnets, of course?
Yes, I did. Interestingly, the school that I went to didn't have an art class, even though it's the oldest school in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So to do art through secondary school, thankfully, a teacher arrived at the school, Mrs. Burrows, who kindly embraced my love of art, and almost in parallel with me, we developed the art class, and that took me right through to the end of the 7th form. And then I applied to Wellington Polytechnic, and I didn't get in. I was devastated because it meant Tanya and I had both agreed to move to Wellington, and Tanya did get into Victoria University to study, and I didn't get into Wellington Polytech. I simply wasn't good enough. My portfolio, I'd started the portfolio too late, and that's a whole story in its own right. But anyway, I didn't get in. But 3 days before the course was supposed to start, the head of school phoned me, and he said, "Someone's dropped out. You were the 37th person of 36 people.
Wow.
Do you want to move? Do you want to still take up the course?" And I said, "Yes, thank you." And I moved to Wellington to join Tanya. I thought I was going to spend another year on the farm doing haymaking and trying to lift my skills and so on. I was doing haymaking in the summers. I was working at the Auckland airport cleaning toilets on the international aeroplane flights as a job that my dad had got me. And I was working at a local packing case factory operating a nail gun. And that was what I was visualizing I'd do for the next year. But thankfully I got in. So I moved down to Wellington 2 days before the course started.
And what was the course called? What was it called, the course?
I did visual communication and design at what was called Wellington Polytech, which is now known as Massey University.
Right, yeah.
And probably the highest number of people that join us here at the workshop are from that course.
Right.
That and the industrial design course. I had intended to do industrial design, and that's what I applied for, but I got into the end of the wrong queue and just never said anything. So I ended up doing 3 years of graphic design. And looking back, I was very pleased that mistake was made. I was a little quieter than I might be today, so I wasn't one to speak up. But anyway, it was a great 3 years, and I got to meet some lovely people and associate with some amazing, inspiring individuals. So, and I just we discovered our love of Wellington.
Yeah.
That first year, we thought we'd move straight back up north again, but within a year, Wellington, the bug of Wellington bites you, and you know that you're addicted for the rest of your lives.
Yeah.
And we've never moved further than 15 minutes drive from where we did our studies.
Wow. Yeah, it's an extremely compelling city.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
both
And
love it.
at what point during that process did your paths cross with Pete?
Yeah, that's obviously the most joyous moment. So Tanya and I, we left. I finished my Polytech course. It was a course in visual communication and design, but I realized very early on in that course that my illustration skills were poor comparatively to some of my colleagues. So I started doing everything in 3D, sculpting and model making, playing to my strengths. And very thankfully, the tutors allowed me to do that. So when I finished the course, I actually got a job working in a design studio designing children's games, and it was a very well-paid job. But 6 weeks in, I went to the owner of the company and politely asked if I could finish up because it just wasn't fulfilling my love of making things as I had managed to nurture through Polytech. And I moved to a significantly lower paid job working at a local television studio painting Ultimat flats. I don't even think Ultimat exists in the world today, but that job quickly allowed me to accelerate my career as I started doing low-cost TV commercials, low-cost documentary work, until they finally decided that the company decided they wanted to do a New Zealand version of Spitting Image, that wonderful Peter Fluck and Roger Law television series. And that in its own, I might mention a little story there, but Tanya and I heard that they wanted to make this TV series, so I actually went and borrowed a photograph of the boss and a guy called Dave Gibson, one of New Zealand's great television entrepreneurs, and instigated a lot of the TV industry here. And I manufactured a puppet in our flat from that photograph. I sculpted it in margarine. I was doing margarine buffet sculptures at night for the chef, where my wife was now working in the evenings as a duty manager at a hotel. And so I'd become very proficient in sculpting margarine, and I would swap the sculpture for a meal because we were a bit on the bones of our ass at that time. And that TV show came out. Peter saw it on telly. I think this was about 4 to 5 years into our working career. And through a mutual friend, Cameron Chittick, he came and visited a studio where we were making a TV commercial for the Folgers coffee bean commercial. And it was a sort of an Indiana Jones had just come out, and it was an Indiana Jones type rip-off TV commercial. And we were doing this massive jungle with Cameron, Tanya, and I. And this young chap, 27 years old, I think Pete was at the time, walked in through the door, and I glanced sideways and I saw him come in, and we were organized to meet. So I climbed off the set, went and said hello, and that was it. The three of us became firm friends, and for the next many years would hang out, talking of things we aspired to do in the future, movies that we wanted to make. He obviously very kindly introduced us to the world of effects and filmmaking at a level that we didn't even begin to understand. I came to a love of film effects late in my life comparatively to, say, my American colleagues who grew up on it almost from birth. So that was great. We used to go and sit in the front room of Peter's tiny little cottage, probably the smallest house in Wellington when he first moved into town from his mum and dad's house, having finished Bad Taste. And we would watch this giant television screen. It's probably a postage stamp compared to screens today, but him, Peter, Tanya, and I would sit on his couch, and if he left the curtains open, you'd do this, and you'd look back behind where Peter was sitting, and people walking their dogs would have gathered on the pavement watching the movie through the window.
I love it.
So peculiar and strange were the things that we used to watch.
That's great. Would you say that based on your upbringing, Pete's upbringing, Tanya's upbringing, would it be fair to say that you guys all kind of found kindred spirits in each other? Is that what was going on there?
Yeah, exactly. I think he was surprised. I don't want to put words in Pete's mouth, but if I recall, I think he was probably surprised to discover that there were other people in the country doing exactly what he did. Remember, at that time, he was making everything himself.
Yeah.
He had made most of Bad Taste himself. And you could argue that if Peter had 1,000 years, he could make Lord of the Rings himself. It's such as his skills across such a broad spectrum of capabilities. And so we would read his Fangoria magazines, we'd read his Cine Fantastique magazines, we'd sit on his couch watching strange and peculiar movies. We would talk about Ray Harryhausen, we'd talk about Rick Baker, Dick Smith, some of the greats of the industry that we loved together, and we talked about things we wanted to make, and we used to do model making sessions together, etc. And Tanya, being a fabulous cook, would cook for Pete. Pete would cook for us. He'd come to our place for barbecues. It was just a really nice way to find communal interest in what we all loved to do. And then, of course, he got Brain Dead off the ground, and that gave us something to focus on. Sadly for us, Brain Dead fell over 6 or 8 weeks after we joined the production. But very thankfully for us, very quickly, him and Jim Booth, the producer that we were all working with and a very dear and close friend to Peter, managed to get Meet the Feebles up and running. And that certainly gave us something to rally around and follow Peter's vision and extraordinary talents as we begun on that film.
And that is a fantastic film. And I suppose the perfect one for you guys to work on together at that time, because it used both your skills so well.
Yeah, it really was. The puppet production was run by Cameron Chittick, and Cameron had been a great friend of Peter's and helped Peter at the end of Bad Taste. And Cameron's the same age as me, but was an enthusiastic model maker from Auckland who had moved to Wellington to work with Pete. And he led us into this world of foam rubber puppets. And Peter would come in and make puppets himself. He made Abi Bhagwat, who was the Indian contortionist who falls and pops his head up his own bottom. And Peter aspired to make many more of the puppets, but he was just so busy trying to get the film made and writing the script and so on. I just make one comment on Peter with respect to that movie. It was at that time that it dawned on me. I think it's an appropriate word to use, the genius of the filmmaker that we were interacting with, because on a particular evening we turned up at his house for dinner or something, or to talk about the movie, and he was lying on the couch with his eyes closed, and he was talking through the film in his mind. Now, if you think about how you make a puppet movie, you have to pre-record all of the dialogue and all of the beats of the movie before you film the movie, because you've got to play the playback so that the puppeteers can work their hands to the sound of the voices. So unlike a traditional movie where you pre-write the script, but then you go in each day and you can play with the pacing relative to how you direct the actors' voices, you have had to have pre-directed it entirely in your head. And it dawned on me that he was able to scope the complete film in his mind, right down to the accents of how the characters would talk. And how they would interact and the time that they would need to walk from here to here before they delivered the next line.
Right, yeah.
You know, if you start to think about it, it is mind-bending when you actually start to think about that. And a lot of people would watch Meet the Feebles and go, oh, it's just a silly, piss take of the Hensons, and it's just a gross, funny puppet movie. but you actually watch it and realize how clever it is for a young filmmaker to have made it. The techniques that he used, the invention that is within it, the clever. He sent it to New Line at the time, and I remember him telling us that one of the New Line people had got back to him and said, "Oh God, Richard, we love the movie. Peter, we love the movie. It was amazing. Specifically, the technique that you used to shoot the flying fly. How on earth you pulled such a good matte off the blue screen on the wings of the fly? It was perfect. You guys are doing great optical work down there." It was a fishing rod with a fishing line dangling to the middle of this fly with a $10 remote control car mechanism flapping its wings as someone guided it through the scene, and it was glorious. So, but the last couple of days ended up just with Peter with his Bolex on his shoulder, with one mongoose on his hand here, with Tanya and I with 4 mongooses on our hands running through the Arrow Street bush. And we're like, it doesn't get better than this. And I think Pete saw our sort of unabashed enthusiasm and just desire to make cool things and be along for the ride. So thankfully Brain Dead came around the corner straight after that.
Amazing stuff from Richard. Absolutely incredible.
Great chat. We were so excited that we just kept talking and talking. So I think we're going to split it into 2 weeks, right?
Yep, and we'll get some more of Richard next week. So please tune in to the Friendship Onion next week. Don't forget to send your questions and comments and everything to thefriendshiponion@castmedia.com. And subscribe.
Yes, rate, review, and subscribe us. If you subscribe to the Friendship Onion, you don't need to go look for it. It just shows up in your phone. And also, if you review us, Billy and I scroll through all these reviews, and the ones that we love, we tend to take a screen grab of and put up on our social media, and maybe we'll even mention them on the podcast. So rate, review, subscribe us, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week on the Friendship Onion.
Toodles.
Bye-bye.